All right, it is Saturday, June 5th at 9:02 a.m., and it is time for me to read the Clermont Sun so you don't have to. This is the June, I'm sorry, July 3rd edition of the Clermont Sun. The deadline for the press deadline for this would have been June 30th. June 30th. So you basically get the better part of a week between the press deadline and when the paper actually comes out. All right, so let's get right into it here. The paper this week has more pages. It has 14 pages, but that's for advertising, so it's still permanently at its 12 page content size. So, all right. If there's a lot of stuff in here all the time. It's all press releases and stuff usually, or closely related to press releases. Government writing its own news, and the stories are kind of they're not. I'm not saying that some piece of information is not good. I'm just saying this is not the top news in Clermont County, and it's kind of a joke. So there's always a lot of stuff in here on Williamsburg and Williamsburg Township, for example. And so these are the lead two stories. The lead stories in Clermont County for the week where the press deadline would have been June 30th were seriously Clermont County hosts emergency response exercise in Williamsburg Township and weekly construction updates. That's it. That's the top news in Clermont County. That's what's so comical about this. But Megan Alley got her two stories here. Both nothing burgers. I'm not saying that weekly construction updates aren't important, good information, but I don't know how many people are getting them in this format. And it's basically just regurgitated pretty close to a press release. Then the third story is Disabled American Veterans Military Honor Reds game submitted by them. I'm all for it. I'm all for veterans. I'm all for Reds games. I'm all for honors. I just don't know that this is this is the front page, and the top stories are emergency response exercise in Williamsburg, construction updates. Those are top two. Then DAV chapter chosen for military honor. And then we have, last week they didn't have the story about, the press release from the county about how wonderful the shelter is. And I'm sure they got a talking to because, as we know, state media is supposed to print what the state wants them to print. And so it's a little too late and long in the tooth now. So there's just some story about a adoption event. I guess this is three stories for Megan Alley. I'm betting photo provided. Megan never does anything. So I'm waiting for a picture where it's a sun picture or she took a picture. How about a picture of Megan at an event? She doesn't even have a headshot, I don't think, ever in here. Jake Dowling, when we get to his work, you're going to see he has a headshot. He has all kind of pictures he takes. But, there's some story about, individual dogs. We just keep ignoring that we're spending at least 2.5 times more on the shelter now under the David Painter era than we did under private operator, that their volumes are way down, that there's 34% less hours at the shelter, and that they're foregoing $1 million of fundraising a year. But Megan and the Sun, they don't want to deal with that stuff. Let's take some pictures of the dogs. And we got told probably to run an article positive towards the shelter. And so this is what they came up with. All right. Now we have a bunch of stuff. I'm on page 2 now. That was page 1. And page 2, I think everything here is submitted content. So students of Goshen High School class, top 20, okay. Tips to save energy, okay? This is like tips to not be fat. Like, here's a tip: don't eat as much. So it's just all submitted content. Governor DeWine signs budget. All right. Is there anything? Here's another example. I keep bringing up these kind of examples. If Megan were an actual reporter, she could even take these press releases and go call Adam Bird and Gene Schmidt and just get some bullshit quote from each of them to put in here. But she's too lazy to do this. There's just no journalistic anything. It's like, what? You might as well work for Reach Magazine on a coupon book or something. So there's a couple obituaries here, which I don't remember seeing a lot of obituaries. So maybe this is going to be a new thing to have some obituaries. I'm sorry for people who have had loss in their families. Looks like both these people though led full lives, so that's good. And now we've got these things. Another top news. This page two, right? Top news story in Clermont County is that Merchants National Bank promoted Ryan Adams. Way to go, Ryan. Not, I'm all for Ryan. Ryan, I don't mean to be disparaging you, but this is the top news story. This is the page two news in Clermont County. Merchants National Bank promoted Ryan Adams. My God. Stop the presses. I'm surprised they didn't have a special edition on this. All right, so let's keep going. I'm going to go to page three, the community calendar. There's something I love in here is that they had Milford Sparks in the Park was the first event. It's July 3rd from 7 p.m. Remember, the press date for this paper is July 3rd, so it only becomes available at the newsstand. When I used to get it, I have the e-edition now, but when I used to get the printed edition, you never got it. You'd get it like Monday, like, you know, so after its publication date on a Thursday. So, you know, how many people caught the Milford Sparks in the Park based on that it said it was in this paper and it was the same day the paper was available at newsstands in theory. It was, I don't know about now when it's available. I need to check this out, but it used to be even when it was printed, it was dated the Thursday. So the third in this case, it actually wasn't available at stores like Walmart and stuff till like Saturday. Um, so anyway, I do notice that there's another Claremont Parks Board meeting, and I'm looking forward to that. And Andrew McAfee from the chamber, who's never owned a business, never, I don't know if he's ever worked in the private sector. He works for an NGO now and worked for Winstrop. I'm looking forward to the meeting because, as we know, we have Andrew helping on the Parks Board when he doesn't even live in Clermont County, and he's there to represent business, of which he's never been a businessman. So it's so crony. It's so crony in our county that it is just repulsive. Okay, so I'm going to keep going down. You got the Hocus Pocus and Sudoku. Um, Jungle Jim's ad as usual. Now we've got opinion. We're back to John. Articles about more money for veteran stuff. Not against veterans. We've got a $37 trillion debt. I'm Elon minded. We got to quit spending money and we got to be asking, how can we deliver better services to vets for significantly less money? Which I'm sure we can. We can deliver services to Clermont Countyans for significantly less money. We just choose not to because our government people like crony systems where people they make jobs, okay, and that we have to pay for. So service dogs, something about paying for service dogs, and something about getting rid of paper checks. Um, you know, okay, whatever. I'll just kind of move on from these. There's absolutely an audience for this. I just don't know why this guy gets like basically a pay. It just tells you how pathetic this paper is. Not John's pathetic or something about veterans. But that their opinion section has every week, not every week, but half the time has basically a full page on from this guy. So, and then we have down here, then we have some just random things that have nothing, just are like, I guess things Megan Alley liked or something. So we've got Ohio, a statement from some interest group about the budget. Okay. No local thing at all, just some cut and paste, fill the page. And then here's something legislator protect Ohioans from tobacco. That's our big editorial. And then I don't even know if it's an editorial, but just about somebody at UC Clermont. Great, Kirsty Ayers. Good for you. All for you. Just don't, this is just more submitted content. So we've got like, what is this? If I pop out here, like a quarter of a third of a page, it's all submitted content. This is not a newspaper. This is a reprinting of submitted content from government agencies. Here's something submitted from ASSE. Well, I don't even know what this is. Foreign exchange student program looking for host family. At least there's something actionable here. But and then this kids editorial, the All In for Kids. Ohio Education Association, by the way, is a scam. What happens in Ohio, it's illegal in Florida, is you have these organizations that effectively get funded by taxpayer dollars that become lobbyist groups. This is an NGO type thing, non-governmental organization type deal, and I just saw their name. All right, now let's get on to sports. Jake Dowling once again shows how to do it. Got lots of Jake Dowling taking pictures, action photos of girls basketball here. Specific content. We got Matt's take. I want to know when Matt's going back to Dollywood. But his normal article on the Reds with the local perspective. And we got water polo return to Milford. Okay, so that's all good. Jake's got a big article on this. I wonder if the Sun is going to cover that there's a scandal in Milford involving either inappropriate contact or inappropriate content involving a now former wrestling coach in the girls wrestling team. There's a massive cover-up going on, but you know what? The Sun will never cover it. The Sun will not cover it because the state media, and it's got nothing to do with Jake. He's the sports guy, not the news guy. But water polo coming. Let's just assess this paper. Let's just assess it for 1 second here. Water polo coming back to Milford is a news story in the Clermont Sun. Potential pedophile wrestling coach involving inappropriate content and or inappropriate contact with women members of the wrestling team. That's not covered. And clearly something's going on. Clearly it's going on. But that's not covered. This is not, I'm not dinging Jake Dowling. Jake Dowling's reporting sports. But this newspaper is a freaking joke. It consciously avoids, the cover story is on, the cover story was on, hold on, emergency response exercise and construction updates. Those are the above the fold two big stories, not the potential pedophile scandal at Milford. Go figure. Go figure. All right. And then you've got more stories by Jake. There should just be a Clermont. Maybe there should just be a Clermont sports paper. That would be probably just cut our losses on the news side. Okay, then you have, I think there was one, there is a piece of submitted content we'll get to. Now we're into the payola, and I just keep reminding people that all these public notices are required by law that the government run in here. That's how the government basically filters money to a paper and keeps it afloat. And if the paper didn't have these ads, it would go out of business. And therefore, it's never going to be critical of the government because it only can survive because of these government ads. Okay. And here's one of these. It's probably a forfeiture cases. Okay. So anyway, that's the deal. All these legal ads, sheriff sales, they're legally required to be in here. Okay. Let's go. I'm going to pop back out. So we're up to page 11. Page 12 has more sports content. So Jake Dowling personally, without Jake Dowling, there's no content. There's some just bullshit. I mean, they'd have to get a lot more press releases to publish. But there is some submitted content for Cincinnati Country Day School. There's 3 kids from New Richmond that go to Cincinnati Country Day. That's a big money deal. So, and they were given some sort of acknowledgement or award here, college signings. Okay, and then finally, another story. I mean, this Jake guy, every week. So think he turns it in, and then he's immediately, I'm on the wrong thing. Okay, hold on. I didn't put the paper back up. So Jake, the kids from the payola articles, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I screwed up. So here's the payola articles or the payola ads from the government that keep the paper afloat. If the paper publishes stuff against the government, they could move these to the Enquirer, for example, for a couple months and put the paper out of business. So that's why you're likely never going to see this paper ever be critical of anybody in government in Clermont County. And so then the thing I breezed past, the 3 kids from New Richmond that went to Cincinnati Country Day, submitted content. Congrats to them. You don't think it's big news in Clermont County, but hey, what the hell? And another Sun report from Jake Dowling. Some more ads, and that is it. That's page. Remember, they've been stuck at page 12 pages, so it got smaller since I've been doing this. But every now and then they have, like on Memorial Day, I think they had 14 pages. They have 14 pages here. Why do they have 14 pages? Well, let's pop ahead. They have an ad insert, a 2-page thing, and I'm going to hit both pages real quick here in full screen. So some ads, and then an American flag. Okay, so that's the 2 pages that are added. Okay, so the ads, I just want to point out here, they're so freaking lazy. Here, let me do it. They don't even rotate in the e-edition. There, I'll do it. Okay. So these people paid for ads in this paper. Okay. These people paid for ads. Now I've rotated the whole thing, but I could have rotated just that page. I'm going to go back. What am I doing here? Now I get all screwed up. So hold on, I'm going to quit trying. I should have rotated them. My point is, they sent it like this out to the community in their e-edition. So people that paid for these ads, nobody can read them. I mean, so they could have rotated the page. I kind of screwed up what I did there, but you can rotate an individual page. And then at least an e-edition reader would see this in the right perspective. I mean, if I were one of these advertisers, I'd be, what a freaking waste. What a freaking waste. Remember, the whole print edition only has like 1,100 subscribers that get it by mail. And then they sell some at retail, like at Walmart and stuff, but I don't know how many that really is. It gets sold that way. Okay. And so then the other thing they had, and I screwed up by rotating these things. Hold on. They had they had this flag. It's befitting I put it upside down now. They had this flag, and okay, let's go here. Okay, so they had the flag here, and notice anything about the flag? It's backwards. They don't even know how to print the flag the right orientation. So the stars should be stars always go upper left. Okay. Stars always go upper left, not, so upper left, not ever in the upper right, unless it's, there's only exceptions are like when they paint a flag where it's like the way the wind would be blowing it, like on a plane or something, or on a patch. But that's what they did. Now I'm going to move on here, and I kind of screwed up by starting to rotate these pages. I want to, I got to rotate these back. Okay. And we'll go right back to the flag here. And it is now time for the best part of this and the most valuable part of the whole thing, the jungle gyms. Okay. So I got my jungle gym music playing. Ooh, last week I couldn't get the jungle gym music playing. So here's the jungle gyms ad for 4th of July. And I went there and got some beer and stuff this week and got some burgers and other stuff at Jungle Gyms, took advantage of their pop sale. I bought some of these dots when I was there, these dot pretzels on the right there. My wife loves those things. Some more, they got some more sales. Good deal on potato chip bags here. And 85% lean beef here, $4.49 a pound. I got to say something. I got some burger patties there, and we just ate them, and they were not good. They had like gristle in them or something. So I got the same kind of leanness burger patties at Walmart. I never had that kind of issue. But there were crunchies in the burger patties, and so that was a little disappointing. Hopefully it was just a mistake in that batch, and it's not normal that you get burger patties at Jungle Gyms that have things like that, issues like that. Okay, what else we got here? Seafood, always got great seafood stuff. Produce stuff, fantastic. And don't forget use the mobile app. They have every now and then they have mobile specials. We'll see if they have any here. Where you have to use the app. Don't forget the podcast. Don't forget the day that is for Golden Buckeye Day, 55 and older. Is it 55 or whatever Golden Buckeye is? If it's 55, I would qualify. But the Golden Buckeye thing, what is that? I gotta find it here. Wednesday, 5% on Wednesday for seniors. They have a Golden Buckeye card, is what it says on the website. And then let's see what else they have good shit going on here. On some books, some toy goofy. Well, I say goofy in a loving way. They have goofy toys and collectibles there. Always an assortment of kinds of pops and stuff that you've not seen before, or not seen or didn't see. Unique stuff. Unique stuff. I see Fago. They have Fago here with cane sugar. Unique stuff. Either you never saw it or throwback. Hey, RC Cola. Remember RC Cola? So I almost bought a box of Little Kings when I was there. So they had Little Kings, and then I'm like, oh, I learned my lesson. I'll never get Little Kings. And then finally, we have the beer and wine section. They pretty much always have Natty Light on here. They have, by the way, they're one of the best places to get beer because if you're willing to do the little paperwork, because they always have, a lot of times they have rebates on the beer. So if you go buy like Miller Lite or something, there'll be signs for getting like say like a $5 rebate on a case. And so that's a good reason to go there, is because it's going to be a better deal than like at Walmart because of those little rebates. But if you do the paperwork, if you don't do the paperwork, you're basically paying the same amount of money as you would for beer. All right, so that is it. So the highlights of the paper were, that we have that Williamsburg had an emergency response exercise and weekly construction updates. And that's basically it. So that's the paper. No coverage of the milk scandal at Milford. Jake Dowling again in the sports section is the really only reason to look at this paper if you're into that kind of sports stuff, because that young man, or however old he is, it seems to do a wonderful job in an otherwise desert newspaper that completely stinks. And I'm going to turn the Jungle Booms music off. And so that I feel like I'm like not as excited as I normally am about this, because it just gets so tiring how bad this is, how just sad and bad it is, and how I assume they're aware of me doing this, and they don't make any effort. Megan Alley doesn't make any effort to improve. Maybe she thinks he's making an effort to improve, but how about actually go to an event, Megan? How about having a headshot when you byline a story because you're proud, like Jake has his headshot? The gentleman that does the stories on the Reds has his headshot. How about taking press releases and just calling up the politicians locally that would have a comment on them and asking for a comment? I mean, it's just not hard. It is not that hard to have a better quality product. Is when it costs hardly anything. It's just having to do a little work. I mean, not just regurgitate a few things in some bullshit stories that you have, and then figure out what 7 or 8 press releases we're going to run with no added value that are given to us by the government and by typically nonprofits or other people that are NGOs, other people with kind of head at the table. So, but any event, that is for July 5th. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. And but that is, I read the Clermont Sun, so you don't have